Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and we're at Thacker Cemetery in rural
southeastern Clark County.
Southeastern Clark County, and right over the hillside is what?
Indian Oldfields.
Indian Oldfields.
You can pronounce that.
There you go.
Indian Oldfields, the last Indian village known in Kentucky that John Finley and Daniel Boone would have frequented.
Awesome, awesome. And we are actually, I'm in your family cemetery. Go ahead and tell them who you are.
You are. I'm Sue Baber Castle. Kathy Baber.
Awesome. Two sisters.
Sisters.
And what we're going to do here is we're going to walk through this cemetery where 4 generations of your family is buried at.
And several cousins, aunts, and uncles.
Actually, yeah.
But that's right.
And you guys are going to be there too? So 5 generations, right? 100 years from now?
Many years from now, but we will eventually land here too.
Awesome.
Right.
So we're going to walk around.
No, we do have 5.
Are they?
Because David's 5.
Oh, that's right. We have
Okay.
Well, let's just
5 generations of your family is buried here. So we're going to walk around. You're going to introduce me to them people, and we're going to document them for all of your descendants.
All right. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah. So we're going to come over here to our great Gigi, and Martha Susan. But our great-great-grandfather, he's right here. He was in the Civil War. He was in Company D. It's Company D, and ended up in the Orphan Brigade, which is an amazing story just for anybody who knows history, Kentucky history, as well as his wife, Martha Susan Caudle, but she was a Callahan from Georgia. And there's a pretty interesting story on how they met. All right, Kathy.
Oh, I have
you
to
can
tell them?
Yeah, this is your story
this
to
is
tell.
a story from Papa. He said that Thompson Shadrach was going home from the Civil War, and he and his brother were traveling by foot back to Kentucky, and they were in Social Circle, Georgia. And they knocked on the door of a plantation house, and this petite, wasn't even 5 foot, had a little ribbon in her hair, and he goes, "Can I speak to the lady of the house?" And she said, "I am the lady of the house." And it turned out it was Martha Susan.
Wow.
She was a widow, and she had her 2 daughters, and they were
living there
with,
on the plantation, trying to,
how do I say it?
with their free slaves.
With
who
their
chose,
free slaves,
who
yeah,
chose to stay with them.
Right.
They I guess cared for them enough that they were family, so they chose to stay with them. And Martha Susan and Shadrach have a 9-year age difference. But I guess he was a strapping young 20-year-old that shows up on her door.
She's 9 years old.
And she's 9 years older than him, with 2 children to have to support. Both her parents are already gone. Imagine the pickings were maybe a little slim also for husbands.
I don't know. He might have been awful handsome.
Could have been love at first sight, because we have pictures of him as he got older. He's a nice looking man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is your great-great-grandparents.
These are our great-great-grandparents. Yeah, Gigi and Martha Susan. And they tried to make it in Georgia for a while. They raised cotton. They even were able to get it picked and got it to the railway station. But because Sherman had marched through Georgia so destructively and damaged the railway system, their cotton, they could not transport it. They couldn't get it out of the area to sell it. And it just rotted there at the railway station.
Wow.
So they after a while, packed up their bags and actually landed in Louisiana.
Wow. So General Sherman actually has a actual impact on your family.
He did, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Do you like General Sherman?
Negative. So they married, and they ended up going on to have 6 more kids. I believe it was 6 more kids. James, the oldest one is
2 boys
here.
and 4 girls.
2 boys and 4 girls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their children.
James of their children. And he was here. The land that we're actually on, that the cemetery is on, was his land. He married a Laura Thacker, and this was the land that they owned. And when he passed away, he was buried here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is he the fellow up front?
He is not. He's not the fellow that's in the house
Okay.
here. He is actually, if we go this way, Martha Susan, as Kathy said,
Had 2 daughters.
had 2 daughters.
Oh, yeah.
Maggie and Jenny. And Jenny actually came here with them, and she ended up marrying a James Thacker, which is actually the brother of Laura Thacker that her brother, half-brother, married.
Alan.
So, and if we come around here to this little house here,
Hang on now. Okay, now go.
This house right here, it's a replica of a house that was built, cemetery houses. There aren't a whole lot of them in this area, but this cemetery actually had 2 of them, and this is a replica that, you know, of course, wood's gonna rot. So a cousin's son built this and put it out here a couple years ago. And this is a picture of Jenny Buchanan Thacker and her husband, James Thacker.
Wow.
Now, the interesting thing, and I'm going to let Kathy tell you that story about Jenny, because Jenny, there was land.
Jenny died?
Jenny died she died in 1924 of breast cancer. 1924.
1924. So sometime in the early 50s, because I think my cousin Yvonne was probably about 8, 9 years old.
She remembers it.
But I remember my grandfather talking about it when she was actually buried on her farm that she and her husband lived. And sometime in the early 50s, they decided they were going to dig her up and move her here. And when they did, and they uncovered the coffin, she was perfectly preserved.
Wow.
Her clothing was
Still good.
intact.
Don't know if it had to do
So
with
that would have been like 20 years after she had been.
don't know if it had to do with 1924
So 30
to the
years,
if the limestone maybe or something in the soil were perfectly preserved, but she was brought up here. So
we did great grandparents. Now we're going to your great. Now we're going to your great grandparents.
Now we're going to my great grandparents,
Okay.
which would be over this way. Now this is Evelina. She is the youngest child of Shadrach and Martha Susan. Her name was Evelina Natai, and she was actually named after the doctor who delivered her. His was Dr. Natai.
Okay.
But she always went by Evelina. So that's their youngest daughter. They used to call her Evie a lot in the censuses.
This is your great grandmother.
And that's our great grandmother. In the 1890s, her and Daniel married. They were 1893. I think it was 1893. I'll get that confirmed, but I think that's when it was. But they married kind of young, and they lived in Eastern Kentucky for a while, but then they lived in this area for a while as well. So these are our great grandparents.
Awesome. And then we got your grandparents.
We have our grandparents here as well. Yeah. So our grandfather, B.T. or Benjamin Taylor Watts, he is one of their children. He would end up being the 5th child, 6th child.
No, he was. There was the baby boy. There was Maggie. There was Lily, John, Lewis. Yeah, he was the 6th.
He was the 6th child of theirs. And his name, interestingly enough, he was named after 2 uncles. Taylor was his dad's brother. Benjamin would have been his grandmother's brother. Died in the Civil War. So, but his name was actually Taylor Benjamin. And then he changed it legally around the time because he always went by his initials. They knew him as BT. We knew him as BT, but he would have been known back several years ago as TB. So he didn't like it to be the acronym for tuberculosis. So he legally changed his name to Benjamin Taylor from Taylor Benjamin. So, and then he married Suzanne Elizabeth White. She was a city girl from Fayette County, Lexington, Kentucky. And when they married, he moved her all the way to Eastern Kentucky to a coal mine.
Wow.
So it was quite the change for the city girl who was actually one of the first telephone operators in Lexington.
Her father worked on Elmendorf Farm.
And
for Ben Ally.
For Ben Ally. Worked, yeah.
When she was 6 years old, her and her brother were playing, and she jumped out of a chicken coop entrance, and she fell and landed on a rock and did nerve damage to one of her hips. So one leg was shorter than the other. She spent like 2 years in bed until she was about 8 or 9 years old.
So she graduated high school, but she graduated 2 years late because of the injury.
But she would get buggy rides from Alvin Barkley because he felt sorry for her.
Because she was injured. But then she walked with a limp for the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life. Yeah. But she will say she married him because she knew he took care of his family, he would say he married her because she was a well-educated lady.
There was mutual respect
Mu-
and love.
yes.
Yes, yes. They actually fell in love with their letters.
Through love letters.
Because-
Yeah, well, pen pal letters.
Pen
yeah.
pal. They were more pen pal letters because Papa had a sister, Lula, that was best friends. They were the same age as our grandmother, Mama. And Lula ended up dying giving childbirth. The baby and Lula both died. And Papa wrote her to tell her, because Mama and Lula used to write letters back and forth, and Papa wrote a letter to Mama to let her know that Lula had passed away and what had happened. So they started writing each other back and forth, and that's really the way that they fell in love, was through their letters. Getting to know each other, and the rest is history. They were
Awesome.
married 65 and a half years.
Yep.
It's a long time. I haven't even lived that long. I might be getting close, but I haven't lived that long. And if we come right on over here, Eva Jackson is their daughter. She's the third child of B.T. and Susie Watts, and that would be our mother right there. We haven't had a chance to put her death
No.
on there yet, but we're going to get that done this year. And then she married a Gail Douglas Faber, who happens to have been Korean War veteran. He grew up in Winchester, Kentucky. Mom grew up out in the county.
This is your parents.
These are our parents. Exactly right. And then someday, when the good Lord says, we're going to end up these slots that are right here. That's where I'll be. The good Lord allows it. We'll see how that goes. But it's just a quiet, peaceful place up here. I like to come up here and actually just walk around and talk to family and remember stories about them, so that they still live on.
So you've taken us and showed us the graves of your great-greats, your greats, your grands, and your parents, and where you'll be yourselves, kind of thing. And like you said, there's another generation here too, but it's just a little brief synopsis of what's here. This is very personal to you guys. I know you say that, talk a little bit for just a second about, I know you guys maintain the cemetery yourselves, you mow
That's
it
right.
and things like that. Talk a little bit about what it means to come here.
We spent our whole life obviously coming here. Our great-grandmother used to come with her sisters, and they used to walk the road and come up here and care for it when their parents were here.
Daily. Yeah.
Daily. They'd
Come
be up here
daily.
every day. So my grandparents did the same.
Our
Our mother
did the
and her
same.
sister did the same. So we truly are carrying on that family tradition of still caring for our ancestors and respecting them and the path that they walked before us.
I
And
think you said, I know you're a Christian, and those beliefs, but I think you said that you talk to them.
I do.
know?
Some people might think that's a little crazy, but by
They don't
being
talk
able,
back.
thankfully, nobody has talked back yet. You never know, but they've. I do come up here and if I talk to them, it's like, hey, Dad, and it helps me to remember the stories that, the memories that I have, and the moments that we did get to spend together.
And that's a gift that you have as the keeper of the stories. The historian, the family historians that are here. So
Yeah, and we have, of course, a family that are younger than us that they need to know these stories.
Right.
And this is one of the best way that I know to be able to. Our grandparents told us in their own words about their ancestors, so we're trying to do the same for the ones that come behind us.
very honorable. And what we're going to do in the future here, in the very near future, is we're going to come back and spend more time with each of these people. This is more like the index of the cemetery here at Thacker Cemetery. And we're going to come back and spend a lot more time with each ancestor here and really document their lives. So it's really awesome that you guys are doing this and preserving it for the rest of your family.
And we also
your
have
descendants.
a Facebook page that is the Thacker Cemetery that we could probably get these linked to or loaded up on, that people can see the history of each individual person who is up here.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking me here to this cemetery and telling me just a little bit about. I know this video is a little bit long, but it could have been 4 hours long, kind of thing,
easily.
with the stories
Very
that are
easily.
on there.
We
So,
have loads of stories.
which is why we're going to come back and do short videos about each person.
Right.
So, but thanks for bringing me out here. We're in Thacker Cemetery in rural
Southeastern Clark County.
Southeastern Clark County, over to overlook of Piscopicka
Indian Oak
So,
Fields.
Indian Oak Fields.
There you
So,
go.
hey, remember, family tree nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.